What I've noticed is one of the biggest struggles for me as someone who hasn't been doing art for 10, 20 years yet is trying to get colored pencils to do what I want them to do. Videos make layering look super easy, but it's not nearly as easy as it looks. Sit back, maybe grab a hot beverage, and let's talk about some struggles using colored pencils while I attempt to work on my skills with them. Hi and welcome to Brittany Henderson Creative Arts. This is my first Draw With Me style video. I love watching other YouTubers draw in their sketchbooks. Sometimes I draw along with them. So part of my content will also feature Draw With Me videos. In this Draw With Me, I also want to lay it out there about the difficulties of colored pencil drawing. I love colored pencils. They may very well be my favorite medium to date, but I'm here to discuss the difficulties that I don't hear discussed often enough for my liking. So get comfortable and let's chat about colored pencils and my process trying to practice with them for this sketch. For this sketch, I decided to make it less lengthy by speeding up most of the process. Not trying to bore you with some of the details, I don't think it's really that necessary for the kind of video that I'm doing today. I just kind of wanted to show you the process of one of my drawings. This one ended up being a combination of nature. I was trying to work on some of my drawing of elements found in nature, but I wasn't planning on adding animals to it. Funnily enough, I did see a squirrel outside, and that inspired me to add that to the image. Make sure you are sharpening often because that is going to make the tooth of the paper really be able to work well with the colored pencils. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of white space. And so for me, that's one of the most crucial things to being able to lay down colored pencils. But as you saw in the topic of this video, I'm going to be talking about my struggles with colored pencils for a lot of this video. It has been very difficult for me to be able to get what I want out of them. I'm still very new, but I've had times where I've actually surprised myself and came out with something really good. But there are more times than not where it's so hard to get the basic colors to blend properly, to get the colors you want, to get them to get rid of the white space in the paper, which is one of my nemesises as someone who is struggling in trying to get my colored pencils to do what I want. Now I'm trying to start the outline of the squirrel that I'm doing. One of the things I've learned in art that's one of the most crucial things that I've learned is looking at shapes rather than the full form. Just picking out the details that are very simple, going to basic shapes and forming from there. As you can see, this is one of my previous drawings that we're looking at right now, and I think I did better than I have before at trying to layer. You can see the details that I added in to the ears, the way the ears look softer. There's just an element of realness that I'm trying to get better at in my drawings. As for colored pencils, they're just the hardest for me in a lot of ways. I've tried to get the best pencils that I could find and thinking that would really help a lot of my issues with being able to layer, but so much of it is about just getting better and practicing. Just like if you listen to a musician play a guitar or something that is $30 and it's not a super great instrument, but they can make it sound wonderful. And so it's the same with drawing. When you're drawing, you really have to learn your craft because that's what's going to make art really stand out. It's always amazing to see how an image turns into something that even at times has been really realistic in my art, depending on what I'm drawing. And it originally came just from shapes. It's always amazing to watch the process. As you can see here, I'm working on the feet of the squirrel that I'm working on, and one of the things that I love about art is you start to really see things almost for the first time. It's like you're seeing for the first time when you look at an image, because so many of the things that you never looked at before, you're suddenly noticing. Going back to colored pencils, and what I mentioned in the very beginning of the video is how I would look at other people doing videos and using colored pencils, and it seemed so effortless. And then I would take the tips that they suggested and try to apply them, and it just wasn't working for me the same way it was working for them. Even when sometimes I would try to draw along with them, there's one time in particular where it turned out really well, where I was drawing along with them and my colored pencils did what I want them to do. And I think the reason that that happened that way is because I spent a lot of time just focusing on this one area. It happened to be a dog's nose. That is the only thing that I did for that drawing, was draw a dog's nose. I didn't add the rest of the dog, I just focused on that. That's all that I did. It's not the one that I show in this video, but it was another dog that I was drawing, and that was all that I focused on. And because of that, I spent hours trying to get that just right. The amount of hours it took me to get that dog nose right, imagine trying to add in the rest. It's going to take a long time, and sometimes I rush that process because I get impatient. And I think that's what's really causing me issues. For this, what I decided to do is I looked at some of the basic ideas of trees and squirrels. What is it that goes into them? Really trying my best to look at them almost for the first time, looking at all the textures and colors and everything that I could take in, and then try to commit it my best to memory, not really looking at the images, just glancing at them here and there and coming up with my own ideas. And this is what I ended up coming up with. As I'm drawing, I'm trying to layer with different colors, adding a little bit of browns, different shades of browns, different shades of grays. You really have to take your time with it. That's been so hard for me to realize, because every time I think I'm being patient enough that I'm barely going in with my pencil, because you have to be almost not even touching the paper when you first start to layer. As I'm slowly learning, I am realizing just how much pressure needs to be put, and I'm getting better in a lot of ways, I've noticed, but there's still a lot of improvement that needs to happen. As you can see here, I'm adding a piece of paper because I'm trying to make sure I don't smudge my drawing. That's something that I get lazy with a lot of times, and I'm trying to get better about doing that and doing the right practices, but it will save your drawing in the long run. This is the Tortillon that I'm using. I like it better than some of my other ones that are a little bit flimsier because they're made of paper. This one's a good bit stronger than the other ones. The paper of them is just a little bit too light and airy, and it tends to bend. This one's a lot firmer, and it's a lot easier to add a little bit more pressure without feeling like you're having to go and be very delicate with it. While I'm not a veteran yet at art, I definitely didn't really like Tortillons at first. They felt like they were, at least the ones I originally started using, felt like they were too flimsy, and I couldn't understand the great value of them because it didn't seem like they did much for my drawing. And I think it was just because I was still new to art. When you use your blender, it really helps to blend in the colored pencil that you already laid down, so applying that over top will help fill in a lot of the tooth of the paper. What I originally did as I was creating the tree in the background is I made some marks that were a little bit more varied in terms of colors. As you can see in the left-hand corner, I was trying to get a bunch of different colors into a tree, because when you're using colored pencils, and this is one of the other problems and struggles that I have with colored pencils, is the amount of colors that go into an image. Sometimes it looks like it's just 3 colors used, and you wouldn't believe sometimes the colors that go into creating an image. You might not normally see blue or something in an image, but when you go to draw, you'll actually be using colors you never realized were in that image to make it look realistic, to make those layers pop and stand out. So our eyes can be deceiving. Experiment with different colors and try to figure out which combination of colors go well in making that drawing. I actually wasn't too fond of the start of what I have going on in the top hand corner. I realized I liked the more grays and darker mixed with the white tones. So what I think I'm going to do about this is I'm going to slowly, gradually get those colors to blend out into the rest of the tree so it's not such a harsh differentiation between that contrast of brown and the other areas of the tree. And you should be doing that anyway with your pencil blending. That's how you're going to make your art look realistic too, is blending the colors into one another so there's not these harsh lines between colors. For this video, I just wanted to have a relaxing chat, be honest about the issues that arise with colored pencils. So this is what I'm working with right now. I'm going to add in some things on my own while I'm off camera so I can go ahead and add this to the next video. I'm going to have a follow-up of what this turned out to look like, maybe a shorter draw with me, so you can see how it turned out. Like and subscribe so you don't miss it. I hope you've enjoyed relaxing and talking about colored pencil woes with me. I hope to see you all for the next one. Bye for now.